Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Kiran Bendigeri from Grafosyss IAS. In this video, let's have a look at 7th Standard Science 9th Chapter. Soil. Soil is one of the most important natural resources. It supports the growth of plants by holding the roots firmly and supplying water and nutrients. So this is the work of this is the job of soil to provide nutrients and water, and also it holds the roots firmly. It is the home for many organisms. Soil is essential for agriculture. Agriculture provides food, clothing and shelter for all. Soil is thus an inseparable part of our life. The earthy fragrance of soil after the first rain is always refreshing. So you might have felt the fragrance of soil after the first rain. There will be some light soil smell will be there, right? And also, yes, agriculture provides food, clothing and shelter. Then what else? Yeah, polythene bags and plastics pollute the soil. They also kill the organisms living in the soil. So there are many organisms in the soil which we have read about it. These some of the organisms converts nitrogen into the compound which are absorbed by plants, and polythene bags and plastics, these pollute the soil. That is why there is a demand to ban the polythene bags and plastics. Other substances which pollute the soil are a number of waste products, chemicals and pesticides. Waste products and chemicals should be treated before they are released into the soil. The use of pesticides should be minimized. So these chemical and waste products, these are the things which pollute the soil. So use of pesticides should be minimized. Layers of soil. Soil profile. Soil is composed of distinct layers. Perform the following activity to find out how these layers are arranged. So there is an activity given to dig the soil up to some depth and look at the layers. So this is the soil layer. The rotting dead matter in the soil is called humus. You probably know that the soil is formed by the breaking down of rocks by the action of wind, water and climate. The process is called weathering. So remember weathering. Please recall this word weathering, in which breaking down of rocks. It is by some physical activity like wind, water and climate. This is weathering. The nature of any soil depends upon the rocks from which it has been formed and the type of vegetation that grows in it. So the type of vegetation that grows depends on the soil also. The vertical section through different layers of the soil is called the soil profile. So the vertical section, this is the vertical section, right? So this is this is surface layer, topsoil, subsoil, weathered rocks, bedrock. So topsoil contains humus mixed with small particles of mineral, humus. Subsoil, in which humus mixed with big mineral. And weathered rock, minerals with very little humus. Bedrock, mineral and rock. So remember all these things, right? Surface layers like topsoil, subsoil, weathered rock, bedrock. Each layer differs in feel, color, depth, and chemical composition. These layers are referred to as horizons. We usually see the top surface of the soil, not the layers below it. If we look at the sides of a recently dug ditch, we can see the inner layers of the soil too. Such a view enables us to observe the soil profile at that place. Soil profile can also be seen while digging a well or laying the foundation of a building. It can also be seen at the sides of a road, on a hill, or at a steep river bank. So these are the soil profile and the layers of the soil we can see while digging a well or laying foundation, etc. The uppermost horizon is generally dark in color as it is rich in humus and minerals. The humus makes the soil fertile and provides nutrients to growing plants. This layer is generally soft, porous, and can retain more water. This provides shelter for many living organisms such as worms, rodents, moles, and beetles. The roots of small plants are embedded entirely in the topsoil. The next layer has a lesser amount of humus but more of minerals. This layer is generally harder and more compact and is called the B horizon or the middle layer. The third layer is C horizon, which is made up of small lumps of rocks with cracks and crevices. Below this layer is the bedrock, which is hard and difficult to dig with a spade. So remember all these layers, right? A, B, C. Humus and mineral, and third C horizon is rocks. So humus is the thing which makes soil fertile, and it provides nutrients to plants, and also it retains more water, and also it is shelter for worms, rodents, moles, and beetles, right? These are the things you must remember for the humus. Soil types. As you know, weathering of rocks produces small particles of various materials. These include sand and clay. The relative amount of sand and clay depends upon the rock from which the particles were formed. That is the parent rock. The mixture of rock particles and humus is called the soil. So what is soil? The mixture of rock particles and humus. That is soil. Living organisms such as bacteria, plant roots, and earthworm are also important parts of any soil. The soil is classified on the basis of the proportion of particles of various sizes. If soil contains greater proportion of big particles, it is called sandy soil. So remember, sandy soil, it contains greater proportion of big particles. Big particles, sandy soil. If the proportion of fine particles is relatively higher, then it is called clayey soil. So clayey soil, fine particles. Sandy soil, big particles. If the amount of large and fine particles is about the same, then the soil is called loamy. So large and fine particles are equal. So remember, sandy, bigger, clayey, fine particles, loamy, both bigger and fine particles are in equal ratio, right? The sizes of the particles in a soil have a very important influence on its properties. Sand particles are quite large. They cannot fit closely together, so there are large spaces between them. These spaces are filled with water. We say that the sand is well aerated. Water can drain quickly through the spaces between the sand particles. So sandy soils tend to be light, well aerated and rather dry. Clay particles being much smaller, packed tightly together, leaving little space for air. Unlike sandy soil, water can be held in the tiny gaps between the particles of clay. So clay soils have little air, but they are heavy as they hold more water than the sandy soils. So remember, clay soils are heavy and sand soils are light. The best topsoil for growing plants is loam. Loamy soil is a mixture of sand, clay and other type of soil particle known as silt. Silt occurs as a deposit in river beds. The size of the silt particles is between those of sand and clay. The loamy soil also has humus in it. It has the right water holding capacity for the growth of plants. So loamy soil is best for plants because it contains equal amount of sand and clay, right, and also humus, and it also hold right amount of water which is required for growth of plants. Properties of soil: percolation rate of water in soil, moisture in soil. So let's see what is percolation rate of water in soil. The phenomenon of absorption of water by soil is termed as percolation. The absorption of water by soil. So remember this. And moisture content. The water content or moisture content is the quantity of water contained in a material such as soil, rock, ceramics, crops or wood. So this is water content. Soil and crops. Different types of soils are found in different parts of India. In some parts there is clayey soil. In some parts there is loamy soil, while in some other parts there is sandy soil. So remember these three types of soils: sandy, clayey, loamy. So these are distributed in different parts of India. Soil is affected by wind, rainfall, temperature, light and humidity. These are some important climatic factors which affect the soil profile and bring changes in the soil structure. The climatic factors as well as the components of soil determine the various types of vegetation and crops that might grow in any region. So these all things are affected. The soil is affected by all these things like rainfall, temperature, light, humidity, etc. And these climatic factors are affecting the growth of vegetation and crops. Clay and loamy soils are both suitable for growing cereals like wheat and gram. Such soils are good at retaining water. So remember, clay retain water. For paddy, soils rich in clay and organic matter and having a good capacity to retain water are ideal. So for paddy, clay and organic matter. For lentils and other pulses, loamy soils which drain water easily are required. For lentils and pulses, not much water is required, so loamy soils are good for them. For cotton, sandy, loam or sandy or loam which drain water easily and can hold plenty of air are more suitable. For cotton, this is required: sandy or loam. Crops such as wheat are grown in the fine clayey soils because they are rich in humus and are very fertile. Cotton is usually grown in dry region, remember, and uh, uh, paddy and wheat is usually grown in wet region. Soil erosion, the removal of land surface by water, wind or ice is known as erosion. Plant roots firmly bind the soil. In the absence of plants, soil becomes loose, so it can be moved by wind and flowing water. Erosion of soil is more severe in areas of little or no surface vegetation, such as desert or bare lands. So cutting of trees and deforestation should be prevented, and efforts should be made to increase the green areas. So erosion, the soil erosion removes the humus and the top layer which is required for the growth of crops and vegetation, right? So plants and trees are very much required to retain the top surface of the soil. And the important keywords: clayey, humus, loamy, percolation, moisture, sandy, water retention. So what we learned: soil is important for life on the earth. Soil profile is a section through different layers of the soil. Remember A, B, C layers: A humus, B minerals, C rocks. Various layers are called horizons. Soil is of different types: clayey, loamy, sandy. Sandy is bigger particles, clay is small fine particles, loamy is in between two. Percolation rate of water is different in different types of soil. It is highest in the sandy soil and least in the clayey soil. So the rate of which water is observed. Different types of soils are used to cultivate different types of crops. Clay and loam are suitable for growing wheat, gram and paddy. Cotton is grown in sandy loam soil. Soil holds water in it, which is called soil moisture. The capacity of a soil to hold water is important for various crops. Clayey soil is used to make pots, toys and statues. Rivers of North India, which flows from Himalayas, bring a variety of materials including silt, clay, sand and gravel. They deposit their materials in called alluvial soil in the plains of North India. So remember, alluvial soil in North India at the bank of river Ganga or Brahmaputra. This soil is very fertile and supports nearby half the population of India. Right, these rivers bring variety of materials including silt, clay and sand. Right, so this is the end of the chapter. Thank you.